She'll do it. She already signed it. She just didn't bring it.
Okay,
She'll
that's
mail
fine.
it. So you don't have to.
He got me in blood.
You don't have to. I ain't worried, but I know where her office is. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna do mine so I know how long we got to go. You ready, Flo?
It's rolling.
It's rolling. Okay. Today is May the 21st, 2015. My name is Ratibu J. Cox, and I'm interviewing Linda L. Smith. Linda, will you spell your complete name for me?
Yes. LINDALSMITH.
Okay, and we interviewing Linda for the Archiving Black History Project in the inland area. And we thank you for taking the time to talk to us. My first question, where were you born, Linda?
I was born in San Bernardino, California.
Okay, and I understand that you have written a couple of books that we have here. Will you hold this up and let us take a picture of your...
Okay.
Is that your first book?
Actually, this is the second or third book that I was in. The first book I did was Creating Value Through People.
Oh, okay.
And that was the year before this came out in 2010, I believe.
Uh-huh.
I was contacted by a national HR firm.
Okay.
And was asked to be part of this project, and I asked, how did you find me? And the lady said, that's my job.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a wonderful experience to be part of. I was one of maybe 17 co-authors in that book.
Oh, okay.
And I was astounded with the other authors in it. It was, you know, the president of Southwest and the president of banking industries. It was just huge, financial industries. And you look in chapter, 117, and it was Linda Smith, president of 4D College.
Okay, well, I'd like to get a
yeah.
copy of that. So make sure, I can still get a copy of that book?
Yes, it's at Barnes & Noble.
It's still at the
it's
Barnes & Noble?
Still,
Okay.
yeah, mhm.
And this was it's 3 volumes to this book.
This is a 3-volume set. The first book set that I wrote of Love Letters to the Lord. And it's a continuation of a journey of my years in starting 4D College.
Okay. We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Well, and then this is your latest book, and I think you have a book signing today.
Right.
About that book. Talk about that.
Business by Faith is the second edition of Love Letters to the Lord. It is a 3-volume set. And I actually have another 3 volumes sitting on my table that I need to release because it's a continuation of the journey.
Okay.
And so it goes from 2000 to 2011, the full set.
Okay. Well, I know you say you were born in San Bernardino?
Born and raised in
San Bernardino, on the west side of San Bernardino?
On the west side.
Okay. How was it growing up on the west side when you were coming up? What years were that?
Well, I was born in 1952.
Okay.
And we lived in San Bernardino for several years, and then we moved to Texas, and by the time of age 5, we came back to San Bernardino. And I, remained there through my, primitive years. The area that I grew up in was on Mount Vernon and Magnolia.
Oh.
And yeah, it was
Mount Vernon, not Medical Center.
No,
Mount
it was Mount Vernon and Magnolia, right there on the corner. I'll never forget the address, 1450 Mount Vernon.
Oh, okay.
And the area, for me, was our neighborhood. And the neighborhood back then went for blocks. Mm-hmm. And I mean 4, 5, 6 blocks. And you literally knew all of the kids and their families on those blocks, north and south of you and east and west. And that was our neighborhood. And it was very different for us in that because we knew so many individuals and we knew their parents, it really was just truly a huge family. Mm-hmm. Our parents, a lot of our parents knew each other from what they considered back home, whether they came from Oklahoma or Texas or Arkansas.
And where were your parents from?
My parents were from Arkansas. My father was from Arkansas, and my mother was from Texarkana, Texas.
And Route 66 is Mount Vernon.
Route 66.
So was that a business corridor as well?
It was a main business corridor.
Okay.
Mount Vernon was a major corridor going through San
okay.
Bernardino. Back
So and then you moved on Medical Center Drive, or
Yes.
Okay. And did you go to school in elementary school in San Bernardino too? What did your schooling? Tell me
Yes,
about it.
I went to Roosevelt Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
And from Roosevelt, when we moved to Medical Center, I enrolled at, back then it was called Franklin Junior High School, which is now Dr. Martin Luther King Middle School. And from there, I made a personal decision to go to San Gregorio High School rather than going to San Bernardino Valley College.
Wait a minute now. How you said San Gregorio High School?
I went to San G, yes.
And then you went to Valley College.
And then I went to Valley College after that, but I chose not to go to San Bernardino High School.
High school. Oh, okay.
Yes, I elected to be bused to San G.
So integration had taken over then, or you
yes.
did it without integration? Or do you remember?
Yeah, integration had taken, it had started, and there was busing systems to take the bus out to San G. At that time, when I was in high school, there still was an option for individuals who lived on the west side to go to the local west side school, which was San Bernardino High School. I just made a personal decision that I wanted to go to San Gregorio High School. So
as far back as you can remember, what did you want to do with your life? The earliest, not later. Not before God spoke to you. I'm talking about early on. What did you want to be?
I knew since the age of 5 that I wanted to be a nurse.
You'd want to be a nurse?
Yes.
Why do you want to be a nurse?
I've always had a spirit of caring and giving to others. And I clearly remember sitting at 1450 Mount Vernon looking at a magazine when I was about 5, 6 years old. And there was a picture of a nurse. And I knew that's what I wanted to be. Ironically, I did not know until years later that my great-grandmother was a midwife. And so it probably was part of osmosis, that attitude of caring and loving and giving. But I've known since the age of 5 that I was going to be a nurse when I grew up.
Were there many black nurses during the time that you saw as models, or the magazine was your big
No, there weren't. During that time, I knew of one adult female who was a nurse. And she was a nurse at one of the prison. I think she worked at Chino Men's Prison. I knew that she was a nurse. And that was after I had become a teenager that I heard of her being a nurse.
But not at 5?
But not at 5.
At 5, you did not see nurses walking around?
No, did not.
You didn't know?
No.
But you knew you wanted to be one?
I knew that I wanted to be one.
Okay, what... I'm still trying to get this nursing thing together because it's not a typical vocation for a lot of black people that I know and I've interviewed. Right. And you say you care for people, and you talking about sick people. Do you care for all people or just sick people?
As a nurse?
No, as you're caring. You say you always care for people.
No, it's just part of, I think, my nature as a person. It's part of my spirit. I am a caring person by nature. Whether one is sick or one is healthy, people come to me and ask for assistance. It's just part of my nature. But as far as nursing, I've always known that I had a spirit of being able to care unconditionally for other individuals, and I've always wanted to be a nurse.
Has that ever hurt you by being such a caring person that people may take advantage of you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
How do you deal with that?
I just know when to say no if I have to. And other times I may give somebody a speech like I did this morning. I got a call this morning from a young lady, not for medical help, but for financial help. And after I said what I needed to say to her, I asked her for her checking account number, because I really knew that she needed help, and I was able to assist her. But following that, I actually stopped because I needed to pray. And I am very big on praying and asking God's guidance. And the prayer was simply that I give with a willing heart. And that was most important. I didn't want to give grudgingly to her. I had to give with a willing heart. And when I finished that prayer, I released whatever I needed to release, and I was fine, and I will do what I need to do for her.
Well, that's good. So you grew up, and if I understand correctly, you did become a nurse.
Absolutely.
And where do you go to school for that, for nursing?
You know, that was interesting because back in the 70s, when I was looking to enroll into college to go to school, it was really a known thought process that the colleges only accepted one African American into their nursing program. It was a given. And so I knew there were two ladies in line in front of me. I will never forget Betty, had enrolled into Valley College, and a young lady that I graduated with named Brenda Brown, who was also going to become a nurse, was applying to Valley College. I knew right off that I was not going to get in. I knew my time would come after them. And rather than waiting, I had completed almost 2 years at Valley. I had applied both years and had been rejected. I transferred to Chaffey College. There were 110 people on the waiting list. I went in for my interview, and I did my job well, and I was selected to start at Chaffey College.
And that's where you got your nursing.
I started my initial at Chaffey College. I'm my associate from Chaffey College.
And so how long did you serve as a nurse before you went into business? I know you're in business, but I'm trying to get to that. How long did you serve as a nurse?
I was in nursing approximately 15 years. I graduated in the 1975, and I started my business in 1992.
So I know one of your brothers, and what was the structure of your family? Boys and girls, how many?
I have 6 brothers.
Oh, you
do? 6 brothers, and I'm third to the oldest.
And how many girls?
I have a sister that I did not grow up with. I didn't meet her until I was 30.
Okay.
But I grew up with 6 brothers.
6 boys?
6 boys.
In the house?
In the house. All around me, day and night.
I know your father and I know your brother, so that's all I know. So were they dominant like Deacon Russ, I call him? I mean, he's not dominant, but he's imposing because of his size and his voice, his complexion. Everything tells you don't fight him.
You don't mess with it. They were not dominating with me. I could hold my own. Growing up with 6 brothers, you learn to really hold your own. Hold your own, whether it's verbally or physically. I would fight. I used to fight them quite a bit. Because that was how I just had to, I think, survive to get through that transition in growing up with 6 guys.
And you fed, what did you feed?
I was third to the oldest.
You're the third to the oldest. So you had some older than you? I had
2 older than me and 4 younger than me.
4 younger than you.
And being in that middle, and I think I was a mature female, that I had a lot of responsibility. So the guys really looked at me, and sometimes they treated me as though I was the oldest, in the group.
Okay.
Yes.
And so did you have to do more housework and stuff around the house than they did, or did you share it? I'm just trying to get a feel of it.
I did most of the housework. Back then, growing up, it was a female's role to do a lot of housework. Right. And so I was responsible for doing definitely all of the dishes. I remember having to stand on a stool to wash the dishes.
And you had older brothers.
I had older brothers, and I think I was like 5, 6, 7, and I was standing on the stool just to wash the dishes and to clean up. I learned how to operate our wringer washer machine, because that's what we had back then, and vacuum and dust. So I did all those things. Dusting shelves, and to this day I would not buy what I call whatnots, because I got so tired of dusting those little ornaments. I was very involved in.
So bathrooms and all of that have done, and
I've done all of that.
Okay.
Yes.
So one day it must have come to your mind to open up a school. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
The school came about as a result of me going through a very difficult time, and the outcome of that journey that I had to deal with, and it dealt with family members, was truly God's grace. I was put through the ringer.
What do you mean by that? Because
I grew up in my household. The relationship with my mother was not as strong as I have ever wanted it to be. Uh, and because of our relationship and the poor quality of that relationship, and I think me being a strong female in terms of what I want to do in my life and how I process through the life, and the relationship my mother had with her sons, and particularly some of the sons and their misbehavior, it was just a clash. It really was a clash. And my mother did not have a liking for me. And that's, it's just what it was. And the outcome of that was the breakdown of that relationship to a point where she literally told me that I was not her child. The outcome of that and the emotional trauma that I went through was God's grace in getting me to the other side.
So this was happening during the time you were thinking about going into business, or before?
It was just before. It was before going into business.
Okay.
It was before.
You were
going
a
into
nurse.
business. I was a nurse.
Were you living at home?
Oh no, I was married and 2 children.
Okay, but so you're married and 2 children, and you're thinking about going into business, and there was a conflict. How did the conflict?
Let me share with you.
Okay.
I was married, 2 children, and my mother. My mother was a person that if you didn't do what she wanted, she would really become angry.
Even grown.
Even grown.
Okay.
Bottom line, and I did not, and I've never been a person to respond to a lot of negativism. And so with her behavior and the behavior of my brothers, I could not blend within that framework. And she used to call me a lot and talk to me. And if I couldn't answer her because I'm busy or I'm working as a nurse, she would get angry. I mean, seriously, cuss me out on the phone and slam it in my face. And one day she called me when I was at work, and I told her I couldn't talk to her. I'm busy with my patient. She literally slammed me again and hung up the phone. And it literally broke me down. I mean, crying at work. And someone said, I need to take you to see the therapist. And the hospital had a clinical psychologist on staff, and I didn't refuse to see him. And I went to see this gentleman, and he hypnotized me. And when he brought me out, he said, Linda, I am surprised that you're still alive. He said most young ladies would have committed suicide.
Oh, it was that bad?
It was that bad. He did not tell me what I said. I have absolutely no recall because I was hypnotized. And he said the day's going to come when you're going to have to tell your mother no. Because if you don't, you will eventually commit suicide. And he said you need to be prepared for the rejection. And I told him there's no way I would go that far to tell my mother no. And he said you're going to have to. And it did come. And that's when I told her simply, I cannot do what you need me to do. And she basically called me out. She called me at home one day, and she was absolutely livid with me. And she cussed me out and told me I wasn't her child, and she slammed the phone in my face. And I was completely paralyzed. Completely paralyzed. I cried like you had beat me like I was a 2-year-old. And my husband and my children came into the room, and they literally had to take the phone out of my hand. I was absolutely devastated. It reminded me of a movie that I had seen, and it was an Asian movie, and this young man had not done what his father wanted him to do, and the father disowned him, and this young man runs into the storm, and he dies in this storm. That is how I felt.
Wow.
And it took me years to get through that. It's hard to explain that journey, of being disowned, but yet knowing that there's a part of me that's very connected to the Word of God. And His Word
tells... At that point?
At all my life.
All your life?
All my life. But the point that the Word of God says that one must honor your mother and father. I knew, Ratibu, at a very young age that I would be responsible for my mother or my father in their senior years. I've always been that responsible person. I was the child that had the house interior redone. I was the child that put up wall paneling to keep the walls in order. I did those things even from afar. And so when I was rejected, I still knew that I needed to stay connected. And through that rejection, I did not stop doing what I was supposed to do. I still called her on her birthday, even though she wouldn't talk to me. I sent her flowers on Mother's Day, even though she wouldn't acknowledge them. I invited her out every Mother's Day. She rejected every last one of them for over a 7-year period. And it was such an intense situation that even if I went to her home, I didn't feel comfortable that I could even sit in her household because I knew I was not welcome. My mother's actions toward me spilled over into how my brothers treated me. All of them but one was very harsh. They were just nasty.
But how about your father then?
My father, ironically, this occurred after my father died.
Oh.
This occurred after my dad died. All the harshness. My father had died, and this is so interesting because parts of it's in the book. But prior to when I got married and in 1975, my mother made a decision to add me to her house note with her and my father. I got a notice. My name. They did a quick deed. My name was on it, and I didn't think anything of it. My brothers never knew that I had been added onto the house. And depending on how my mother felt, she would leave my name on or she would take it off. I took care of the taxes on the house. I did what I was supposed to do. It never occurred.
As a nurse?
As just as her daughter.
I know, but you were
I was a nurse.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
okay.
married, grown, didn't live in San Bernardino at that time. And when my father died, 30 days after he died, I received a letter from an attorney that my mother was wanting me to take my name off of her house because I was clouding her space. And I did not respond to the letter. There was no way that I was going to take my name off of the house because I did not trust the activities that my brothers were involved in.
In the house?
In the house.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that I needed to have the consciousness to think ahead and to make sure that my mother would be okay in her golden years. So I refused to take my name off the house. And that was beginning after my dad died. And it just continued to escalate. My brothers, some of them were very harsh and, just you name it, I was it. And it was just the way my life was.
Wow, because I wanted to know how you got into business and what was going on with your life, and I'm glad to know that. And so how did you overcome all of that and establish your own business? Because you had to quit your job.
I did eventually do that. What had happened, the journey that I was going through with my mother and dealing with the actions and comments of my brothers, I ended up actually going to a clinical psychologist on the outside and seeking help because I needed to understand, was it something about me? What did I say or do to cause my mother to react the way she did, to cause my brothers to respond the way they did to me? Because I thought it was strange. I always thought that being the only girl with 6 brothers, that they would hold me in high esteem to some point. Really would, because I was a kind person. I never thought that I would be called the names that I would call or treated the way that I was. And I was standing at home one day in my kitchen, and I could feel this lightness coming upon me. And my daughter walked into the kitchen, and I had the poem of Footprints. And she looked at the poem, and she said, "Mommy, that's you." And I said, "What?" She said, "That's you. God has carried you through." It was as though the Lord had truly sent a messenger in to tell me that, "Linda, you've come through the storm." And I knew that storm was the storm of my parents. my brother, and my brothers, my mother and brothers. And I was absolutely elated. And I literally jumped with joy. I got it. And I wanted to share that with everyone, that through God, all things are possible. I stood through the storm. I didn't kill myself. And that's how, because I used to think about suicide. Seriously. I asked my husband, my kids, I used to tell them, when I die, make sure I have A, B, and C. And they would laugh sometimes, but I was serious. I literally thought about how to end my life because I was miserable. And it wasn't with my husband or my kids. It was the heartache of my mother and my brother. It was more than I could bear. When I got through that, I submitted a prayer to the Lord. And I asked that He, first and foremost, give me a foundation where I could stand and say, through God, all things are possible. And I asked that He allow me to make a difference using my skills as a nurse. On July 31st, 1991 at 1:05 a.m., I was called by name. And I rose and took a pad and pen and went into my bathroom and said, Lord, I am here. I knew the Lord was calling me. I heard it clear as day. I can even hear it now, how He called me. And I sat there and asked the Lord, what am I to do? And I began to write. It's hanging in my office what I wrote that night. I knew that the Lord was having me to start a school. I became very anxious in my spirit. And I was telling the Lord, I can't do that. I don't know the first thing about curriculum. I don't know program design. And He was talking about these D's. And I was like, wait a minute, what are these 4 D's? And I began to write.
So the name of your school is what?
It's 4D
4D
College.
College, okay.
And one must have the desire to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You must have determination to follow through the process. You must have drive, that energy level needed to be consistent. And if you do those things, you'll have deliverance, reaching your goals for success. That is why it's called 4D College.
So you got that from God? I
got that from God. And I wrote it as I felt, as He said it. I wrote it, and I've never wavered from this story in 23 years. And I asked the Lord, how am I going to do this? I began to murmur in my spirit, and the only thing the Lord said to me was Aaron. I clearly understood the passage in the Bible when Moses was given his assignment to lead the children out of Egypt. He began to murmur about his speech, and the Lord gave him a helpmate, and He said, your brother Aaron. I knew that God was telling me, Linda, I will be your helpmate. I will do as long as you do what I ask you to do. And I asked the Lord to give me something to hold on to, and He gave me Psalms 119, 105. My word is a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. I knew I had a covenant with the Lord. I knew that I had made a commitment to do. He had given me His word that no matter what I was going to go through, He didn't say it was going to be easy, but He'd given me His word that He would always be with me. I've held that to my heart. And within a year, I had designed the programs that I had wanted. I was knocking on doors, begging for equipment. I contacted an agent and told him I needed a space in Claremont on Foothill for 50 cents a square foot. And he laughed and said, prime city, prime location. I said, it's there. I was walking on the boundaries of Foothill in Claremont, laying my hands on buildings, saying, Lord, if this is for me, I will take it. But if not, you would direct my path. I was crazy in love with what I was doing. My agent called me in 2 weeks. He had 1,000 square foot space in Claremont. The landlord put in new carpeting. He was painting. He put in air conditioning units because there were none. And he gave me 4 months free rent. And the man had never seen me. And I moved in on August 2nd of 1992. The state came out and looked at what I had in September and said, my God, I've never seen anything like this. My setup was a setup. I had beds, I had equipment, I had desks, I had written policies and procedures for employees, for students, HR manuals. I did my homework. I was going to schools asking them for their personnel's manuals. And they said, who's going to read that? I said, I'm going to read it. And I would sit down and read it. I'm talking 500-600 pages. I'd read them front to back. And
it's about schools?
Personnel manuals.
Oh,
yeah.
personnel.
What did I want to be in my personnel manual? What did I want to be in my student handbook? What did I want to be in my student employment book? And I developed all of these manuals.
You had no knowledge of this before?
None. I developed my curriculum. I immediately enrolled into Cal Poly to get my teaching credential. I was serious about what the Lord was having me to do because I needed to know if I was going to run a school, how should faculty develop curriculum? And I needed to know it from the front to the back. So I enrolled and got a full-time teaching credential from Cal Poly University. All the while that I was writing and developing and preparing to open 4D, within 1 year, I had a state approval from the state. The lady said it was the best complete program that she had ever seen, and she could not believe that I did that solo. Most people have a team working with them. I did this myself. I wrote volumes. My husband thought I had lost my mind because I would work 8, 10, 16 hours straight without stopping.
Well, what kind of money did you have to spend to do this? Your building, the equipment. Did you have money to do this,
No,
or how did you do it?
it never. See, people think I'm crazy as a CEO because I operate in a different vein. I didn't think about the money that I would need, and I honestly did not. I knew God was going to provide whatever I needed.
So you didn't have a business plan or a budget?
I did not have a business plan. I did not have a budget. I just started. I literally started. I knocked on doors. I called hospitals. I called a hospital, and this hospital administrator told his assistant, I don't have time to talk to her, and I was furious. I got up and got dressed and went to the hospital. And he said, didn't I just tell you I couldn't see? And I said, yes, that's why I'm here. And I sat down and I talked to this gentleman and told him who I was, what I needed. And I kid you not, I ended up being assigned to their laundry department so that I could get whatever I wanted. He called laundry, said, whatever this lady needs, let her have it. Because I needed sheets. I needed towels. You know, I needed bedside commodes. I needed stuff to do what I needed to do.
Right.
I contacted San Antonio Hospital. I talked to someone in their engineering department. I figured hospitals have tons of equipment that people don't think about.
Right.
They're constantly remodeling their facilities. So where are they putting their old? They put it in storage like everybody else. So I contacted him. I said, this is who I am. I'm Linda. I am opening a school. I don't have anything. The man said, come with your van or your truck and your Christmas list. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And I went in there and I got my equipment for my seats for my lobby. I got desks, pictures, a refrigerator for my storage. I just went in and got all the stuff that I needed. That's what I did. I wasn't ashamed or afraid to ask for help. I never thought that I could not do it. It never occurred to me that I would fail. I think it's innate.
That was innate.
I think it's just
you don't think from your mom or your dad or nobody?
About failure?
No, that you couldn't do it. You knew you could do it once you made it.
I think it's just who I am. I think it's who I am. I think it's in conversations that I've had through the years with my dad. My father was extremely important in my life. And I had talked to him while he was living more than any person that I have ever talked to. He and I would have conversations. I mean, hours of conversations on the phone. And his guide in me was that I could do anything that I wanted to do. And that as long as I kept the Lord in my life, as long as I absolutely believed that God was with me, I could do it. I mean, that is innate in me. And that's what I heard my father teach me and talk to me about. You know, the word says it comes by hearing. And I heard it daily from him. My dad used to read the Bible to us when we were kids in elementary school. And I know it was uncommon, but every night he would sit his children down and read from the Bible. The things that he taught us, I just took to heart. I don't know what my brothers did with it.
You believed
but
it.
I believed it, and I took it to heart, and I applied it to my life. And I know that in my most weakest moments in my life, I had something to hold on to. And those were all the lessons that I learned from him, and all of the lessons that I learned from other individuals that were in my life that were spiritually based and bound, who loved me, you know, outside of my home. So I had a good faith and religious foundation that I grew up with and around. And so I knew that I was solid there.
So did you grow up in Temple Missionary Baptist Church, or did you
No.
attend that at all?
No.
You never went to, okay, what church did you
I
go?
grew up and attended Church of the Living God,
Okay.
Temple 208 in San Bernardino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see Christians and I all the time, and they maybe say exactly what you're saying. But when I look at their life, it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who know what you're saying, and maybe, I don't know if they believe it or not, but their life don't match up? What is the problem there? Or is there a problem?
What? Number one, yes, there is a problem.
Okay.
You know, and I think for individuals, whether you're Christian or any other denomination, I think what lacks is the issue that deals with faith. It is one of the most preached about services I think ever is on faith. Believing in the Lord. The Lord is with you. You know, He's going to pay your bills. He's going to do that. I don't think people really believe it.
Okay.
Not to that degree.
Okay.
Because they give up too easily. Faith is being able to stand on air that you cannot see. It's believing without any question that God is going to take care of you.
Are you saying that now because you are who you are today, or you
no.
always believed that?
I've always believed that.
Before you had it?
Before I had it. But I've always believed it before I had it. But even the outcome of what I do is a testament of the degree in which I believed it. Who would have quit a job? I had a real good job, as my kids would say. Who would quit the job that company car, company tickets, airfare to go around the country helping other hospitals get out of trouble? I had a very good job. And I quit that job not knowing where my next day's income was going to be, because I believed I was going to test the faith. I believed that He said, I will be with you if you do what I ask you to do. I believed it. I believe it to this day.
I feel it.
I believe it.
Okay.
And so I put my faith to practice.
And so do you think Christians, I'm talking about Christians now, because that's who I deal with in Sunday school and other places. But I'm learning myself so I'll be able to tell them. How do they make that leap from reading it and reciting it and living it?
I think they need to learn to stand. I think Christians don't stand for the test. When it becomes difficult, or when they perceive that it is going to be difficult, they stop. They never test the faith. I tested the faith. And that's all that I did. I said I believe it, I'm going to test it. And I wasn't verbalizing that I was going to test. I just did it. There was no question to me, number one, that the Lord talked to me. I wasn't worried about folks telling me that I was crazy. Who believes me after 23 years when I said, well, the Lord called me by name?
Right.
Most people look at me and smile like you look at me and smile.
Right.
You know, Lord haven't called you. No, He called me. I listen and I respond. I think the Lord has called a lot of individuals. I truly do. But I know a lot of individuals who have not responded, and most people don't, because they are afraid. They have to say, number one, I hear people say it all the time, well, he got to call. I'm waiting for her to call again. I need to verify. You don't verify that Jesus called you. You know if He did, but I have to verify. Or they say, I have to get my money right. It's so materialistic things that they're concerned about. And if you believe who God is, that He can provide all things and more than abundantly than you can even imagine or ask for, why are you worried about what you have for today when He's going to give you so much more?
Well,
and so I tested that. It wasn't that I'm testing the Lord, but I simply believed that He called me, and I quit my job. And my husband asked me, what are you doing? And all I could say to him was Jesus. There was nothing else that I could say. There's no explanation that I can get anyone to understand what happened to me that night and why I took this step of faith and stood on it and continued to stand on it. 23 years later,
right.
I still stand on it. That the challenges that I face today in my company are the same challenges that I faced on day one, short of income. But I believe that the Lord is going to take care of that shortage. He's given us wisdom, those of us who working in that accounting department. What do we need to do to get through tomorrow? And sometimes we scratch our heads. I have cried and screamed and prayed out to the Lord, why are you putting me through all this? Because this is crazy, but I refuse to quit. I will quit on my own terms. And when I say I'll quit on my own terms, I'm not going to quit because I can't do it. It's because I will retire. But that's the only time that I will quit. But I am a firm believer. And as you look at me now, if you knew the financial situation that I was in, you would say, Linda, how can you smile? And I would say, God is good.
Right.
I've been through the storm before, and I'll get through it.
I want to ask you to help me with someone who has a gift of singing.
Okay.
Beautiful voice.
Mm-hmm.
And could go places like Mahalia Jackson or some of these other opera singers.
Uh-huh.
You know, what would keep them from stepping out on air? That's the word you used earlier. What's keeping them from doing that? What could I say to them?
I think what's keeping them is fear. And it's the fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. I think people are afraid of what they don't know because they're afraid of being evaluated by someone else. Mm-hmm. I was not afraid of being evaluated by anyone else. But a lot of people are afraid of being evaluated because that way, when you're evaluated, you're going to be judged. They're simply fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to get started and don't know how to ask for help. And then they just have their own insecurities that, you know, I'm going to fail, so I'm not even going to try. And that's the worst to me, is that fear of failure. I see it a lot of times, even in some students that I have to talk to. They are very good students, but they sabotage themselves. And I think people in the world do that by nature.
Sabotage.
I just call it self-sabotage. They set up their own failures. They know that they're going to fail. They almost know when it's going to happen. They have no expectations on themselves to excel or to succeed because they're going to something is going to go wrong. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. Something is going to go wrong and I can't do it. So there's 101 excuses why individuals come up that prevent them from succeeding when they can. I tell students all the time, and in fact I told a group last week, I believe that we're all children of God and that we're all gifted and we have the ability to do whatever we choose in life. And I really believe that, but you have to want to do it. No one can make you get up and get you dressed and get you to come to school. You have to want it. And when you want it bad enough, you're going to excel at it. You're going to figure out how to do it. But you have to want it. It has to be in your gut. You know, I told you, you gotta want it. And that's where I was with 4D, and that's how I am. You have to want it. And when you want it, can anyone turn you around? No one can tell you no, and you're going to sit back, well, they said no. I've had so many fights, literally verbal fights to impress. I have been sabotaged, and they figured I was going to go away, and I'm still here. When I say I'm talking about 4D.
Right.
We're the little engine that shouldn't. 4D is the only African-American owned college in California. It is solely owned by me 100%. And there's been a whole lot of big major corporations that have come and gone. They buy and they sell. That's the nature of the business and education. I have not sold, and I get offers every week. And it's been my choice not to sell. And I won't sell because I don't want to change the philosophy of my company. When I do sell, it's because it's time for me to retire. That's it. And everybody retires sooner. One day, when the ministers retire, I said, Lord, I can retire one day. I've been doing my ministry for 23 years.
Yeah. Well, we're moving right along. But I didn't want to get into this, but you leaded me to it. Because with your mother, which you said was very negative, devastating, thoughts of suicide and all of that. When people say I can't do it because of their background, things that has happened to them in the past, like it happened to you, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that they would
especially the mother. I don't think anything can be worse than that because that's who birthed you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a matter of trying to find out how to release that. You know, it was not easy for me to release that, even though I was functioning. You know, I'd get up and I'd go to work and do what I had to do. I was a wife and a mother. But the emotional devastation is what I had to deal with. That psychological damage took years for me to address. You know, going to therapy and trying to understand what was it about me that my mother did not like, and accepting that. And once I got through that, it's been okay. I can talk about it now without crying, but I used to cry myself to sleep all the time.
Oh.
You know, it was really, really bad. And so I'm at a point now of being able to look back on that and have some kind of understanding. I may not understand it fully, but I have some kind of understanding, and I have acceptance of it. You know, that I am still an okay girl. You know, I'm a good person. I did not change my attitude or behavior, how I treat people. I think I learned from it because I do try to find good things in bad situations, and I learned how to be a better mother. I am an absolute wonderful grandmother.
Okay.
Because not only did I suffer, my children suffered because they weren't there with mom, and mom couldn't go to the house, so my children weren't in the house. Our pictures were removed from the house. It was some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've learned how to love my children more. Tell my children I love them all the time. When we talk, they hear that out of me. My grandchildren, I am very close to them. And I understand how important it is to have my grandchildren's love, because my children did not have my mother's love.
Mm-hmm.
Not the way I would, they should have had it. And I see the effects on my children as a result of that in many ways.
So, how many students do you have in campuses? Tell me a little about your business as it stands right now.
40 College, we have a campus in Colton, and we have a campus in Victorville. And we currently are running around 250 students on both campuses. We teach programs. Our focus is healthcare. Okay. So we have vocational nurse, pharmacy tech, registered dental assistant, massage therapy, and medical billing and coding, and we also have an associate degree in healthcare administration that we offer.
So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we have approximately 125 employees, and 40 College is a fully accredited institution, and we're recognized by the Department of Ed. A lot of times, even a couple of weeks ago, someone seen me at a function, and she said, "Oh, you on 40? Oh." And she turned to somebody, "Oh, that's just a tech school." And I just kind of sat there and smiled. I almost wanted to tell her I could write a check to pay for your whole salary for a year. But I didn't say nothing to her. Because there's this misnomer that I think what I do to some people that is insignificant. Mm-hmm. I just run a little tech school. No, I run an accredited college.
College, yeah.
I signed the same PPA, which is a participation agreement with the Department of Education, as the presidents and chancellors at your universities and state colleges. We sign the same document. So I understand that. Individuals in the community may not understand that, but the depth of my responsibility is no less than what their responsibility. And I would think that at some point, some of the members in the community, and particularly the African American community, would wake up and understand that Linda started a school by herself. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want to honor that, at least recognize that. At least recognize that. But when I hear individuals say that, "Oh, she just runs a tech school and it's insignificant," or "I wouldn't send my children there because it's black owned," and I have heard that, and parents have come and apologized to me for saying that after they walk through my campus and say, "I didn't know." And 99% of the community do not know because they never have taken the time to come by to see what 40 College is. But when they do come, I didn't know. I ran a private child care center for 12 years on campus for students and for the community.
Before the school? Or?
While the school was in session.
Okay.
I had a private child care preschool on campus. We were licensed for 30 kids. We breakfast, lunch, dinner, educational training program. Our students were prepared for elementary school. And I did that for 12 years right there on our campus. And people come by and say, "Oh my, I didn't know you had this." No, I have a campus. We do. I have a student services, financial aid, admissions department, teachers, assistants, secretaries,
Job developer.
job developer,
Oh, you have
career
that too?
development
Okay.
department. 6 or 8 people in that department alone.
Yeah, so it's a real
It's a real
bona fide
bona fide
college.
college.
Right. Okay, you mentioned retirement 3 times.
Yeah.
And what is
I
Linda?
feel it.
Yeah. What is Linda going to do? You're still young. You still got a lot of energy. You know, where can I see you? Do I see you continuing with the college, or do I see you on a speaking tour going
You're
all
gonna
over
see
the
me on a
country
speaking
selling
tour.
your books?
Actually, that's what I am doing. I am. I have my own website at lindellsmith.com, and I am focusing in on the speaking side. I have several engagements lined up. I have a lady that I work with through her service to get speaking gigs. In the next month, I have 6 already scheduled along with me. I have a great workshop that I am going to put on and do in Corona for individuals who want to start a business. So I'm putting on a workshop. They can go to within a week they'll be able to go to Eventbrite and register for that. It's only $45, and I will be presenting on starting a business, taking your dreams to a reality. I have a young lady who is a financial expert in bookkeeping, because a lot of businesses don't know how to manage financially and do bookkeeping,
Right.
and that's her expertise. And then the other young lady is an attorney, and her expertise is talking to business about how to protect themselves. So I think the individuals who do come to that workshop are going to get a great deal of information on how to start and move forward, and then other services that we'll be able to do with them
Will
in the
you
future.
go out of state and you speak as well as just California?
No, I am open to go wherever individuals want me to
Will allow
come.
me to give you a
Yeah.
telephone number. Okay.
Absolutely, we'll go out of state.
All right. I don't know if I asked the question that I was sent out to ask you because we got into some other thing which is probably more important. How do you think people have benefited? Who are some of the people, or what have some of the people done that came out of your school, and how have they benefited through your training?
I think there's a couple of things. Number one, I think the community in terms of the Inland Empire has benefited in the revenue that has generated from individuals who have graduated and entered into employment. I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, and we probably have generated through our graduates who are working well over $150 million back into their various communities, graduating, getting jobs, and the monies that they earn per hour multiplied by the various level over the last 23 years, a minimum of $150 million back into the communities. Individuals who have come to school who had never gone to school or graduated from a high school or a college, because we do provide GED training for our students. I'm very clear that I expect people to come to school, become educated, and get a job. And so I have a full-time person, that's all he does, is GED training to help students who do not have a high school diploma to get one. Because they have to have a high school diploma to enroll into our school.
Okay.
So this is a service we're offering outside of the training programs.
To prepare them.
To prepare them.
Wow.
Whether they stay with us or not. I just cannot grasp individuals coming out of high school and do not have a high school diploma. I just can relate to that concept. So we do provide that. Students have graduated from 4D and have gone on to become registered nurses, getting their bachelor's, master's in nurses. Students have graduated from our pharmacy tech program. I know 2 students who, and in fact, one from San Bernardino, a young lady, I went to school with her sister. She graduated from our pharmacy tech program, and a couple of years ago graduated from Loma Linda with her doctorate in pharmacy. I have a young man who went to Xavier and graduated with his doctorate in pharmacy. So I know that we have had a significant impact in our community, in the Inland Empire, in terms of individuals coming to 4D, getting what they needed from us in a different climate and environment, because 4D College is a private Christian school.
Private Christian school.
Private Christian.
Okay.
So meaning that I pray on my campus.
Okay.
I make no bones about that. We pray before meetings. We pray after meetings. We pray at all staff meetings at 11:30, 12 o'clock on both campuses. There's a prayer or a word, a positive word, say it over the intercom. It's in our catalog. If you come from the state to evaluate me, I'm going to sit you down and say a prayer. Lord, let him see only what he needs to see. I will pray. And so that is what we do at 4D, and I've never wavered from that. So students have come because they know we're a Christian school. Students don't come because they don't want to hear the praying going on. But that's who we are. And I think that's the uniqueness of 4D, that it's a private Christian school that was started solo by an individual who believed that God was guiding her hand along this journey. That story will never change. And the outcome, it speaks for itself, that we're still here, we're still educating, and we're still praying at 4D College.
Okay, time is up. I want you to say anything that you would like to say that I didn't ask you and didn't get to it, and I may call you for some more
What else can I say?
dialogue, but tell us what you would like. We always tell people 50 years from now, people will see this. And people, even further.
Yes.
What do you want to say to them about Linda Smith, 4D success, and anything?
I've always said what I would want people to know about me was that I stood on my faith. That is truly what I want individuals to understand, because I believe that when you acknowledge and believe what you say every day,
Believe it.
when you believe it and you put it into practice, you will see an outcome. One thing that I want individuals to understand is that they need to learn to stand. Most people quit and back up.
What do you mean by stand?
You don't quit.
Okay.
You go through the storm. Quitting for me has never been an option. And I tell my staff that. Quitting is not an option. You figure out how to get through it. And whether we do it solo or as a team, we're on this journey together. And so we have to get through the storm. Quitting is not an option. If we quit today, where are we going to be tomorrow? And that's what I tell the students. If you're going to quit today, come by my office, because I need for you to write down your plan of where you're going to be in 12 months from now or 6 months from now. If you cannot give me a plan, then you're not thinking about your future. So quitting is not an option.
Right.
You have to be willing to stand to go through the storm. And excuses doesn't benefit anyone. So, don't tell me the dog ate your homework. Don't tell me you got kids. Don't tell me you got to cook for your old man. You had all these things before you came to school. So I expect you to produce. Increase the size of the plate that you're working on, because now you've added education to your plate. I expect you to succeed. Quitting is not an option.
And you look at them like you're looking at me.
You know I am. So you know I am in my zone right now.
Yeah, I can tell. She's getting ready. Let
So
me
this
just,
is what I do every day for 23 years.
Let me say thank you, Linda Smith, so much for the interview. And I really enjoyed it. I don't know if they're going to... Well, it wasn't how I planned to do
I
this.
bet it wasn't.
But you took me right where I needed to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right,
I'm honored to be part of this history.
What you saying? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do. Oh, she wants you to sign my book, and she want to get a picture of you, autograph him. Where do you put them at? Yep, I plan to give your books to some of my students in my Sunday school, and probably get some more too, so I really appreciate it.
Sit down.
Sit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too tall? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just
Okay.
seen you at your waistline.
Okay. Okay, you
That's
got me
good.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. This is so good that you're doing this. You like this? I know blows
She
like.
made me cry.
She made her cry. Yeah. Yes, I can tell. Now you know I need my real signature. Come on, she gonna give me.
He is
You
so
know how
cute.
she. See, this is what Linda did for me in her first book. Can you see it?
He actually had me
I want her
to
to
kiss
kiss
his book.
my book.
So
Because
listen,
it's a blessing.
all of you know this is for Ratiba.
Right, it's only for Ratiba.
And I happen to be wearing red lipstick today. Okay, Ratiba.
Oh boy, look at that. You see it, Flo?
Got it.
Got it. All right. Thanks again. Come on, baby.